Hello everybody, welcome back to another captivating episode. Today I'm thrilled to be sitting across a prolific guest, a luminary in politics and reforms and a beacon of wisdom and innovation. He's none other than Dr. Jaya Prakash Narayana. Sir, it's an honor having you with us today.
My pleasure, Vinila.
Sir, as we see in Andhra Pradesh state, you have also mentioned a few metrics before that, Andhra is lagging, in terms of infrastructure and, many basic infrastructural activities like laying of roads, etc. And there are many important projects that are delayed like Polavaram project, and the status currently at 43 to 50%, wherein it has exceeded the on and off budget loans, which is the limit is around 20%, and almost 1 lakh crore rupees have to be remitted by the government as it has taken many loans on and off the record. So what do you think the game plan of the upcoming government should be to rectify all these faults at least to a minimal level?
Vinila, Andhra Pradesh has fantastic opportunities because it has 1,000 kilometers of coastline. Very enterprising population. Thanks to Saradar Cotton and others, right from British days, irrigation early on and therefore wealth creation. And around the time of freedom struggle and post-independent India for about a generation or two, many great leaders, towering leaders have taken education as a movement. So the education has spread and quality education has reached people, though the amenities were very inadequate in those days. How much money were they spending on education? They were ramshackle buildings. For instance, I went to a school with thatched hut. My teachers were paid in those days about 70 rupees or 100 rupees per month. But because the community was involved, it became a movement and there was natural talent and urge. Quality education was available to many people, and thousands of people across the country and the world made a profound impact. In fact, probably lakhs of people. So there are many opportunities. A coastal state and a southern state which already has some natural advantage should have really progressed very fast now. Unfortunately, because of the bad choices we made in terms of policies, in terms of expenditure, we missed the opportunity for the last 5 years. Now we must retrace the steps. We must correct the mistakes. In order to grow, there are two central pillars. The first is, how do you manage your finances? Whether it's a family or a company or a country, how do you utilize your resources available? Money is never unlimited. Even Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or Tata or Birla or Ambani would never say, my God, I have more money than I need. Your dreams are always bigger than your money. So the challenge is, how do I utilize the money available, resources available? Am I using prudently, productively, to build the future, or am I wasting it recklessly without building a future but burdening the youth? Unfortunately, Andhra Pradesh in the last few years made a wrong choice. Spending money for the short-term benefits, they are necessary, but if they become dominant in expenditure, without building the future, without building infrastructure, without encouraging investment and growth and creation of jobs and skills, then you get deeper and deeper into poverty. You have to borrow in order to sustain your current lifestyle. Now, if I get an income of, let us say, 50,000 rupees a month, but if I spend 1 lakh rupees a month on day-to-day expenditure, and I borrow another 50,000 in order to meet the day-to-day expenditure, what is happening to my family? They are sinking deep into debt without creating any assets or properties, without increasing the income. That's a disaster. That's exactly what's happening in Andhra Pradesh. And therefore, as you said, the debt level has become 50% of GSTP. Real debt is 50% of GSTP. That includes the actual debt they're showing, then off-budget loans which are not showing easily. In the name of some government organization they are borrowing, but repayment has to be made by the government because that organization has no money, no resources. And third, deferred payments. That means I owe you money, but I'm not paying you. Therefore, on paper, I'm not showing as a debt, which is actually a debt. Together, it's now 50%. 20% of the GSTP is the norm for state debt. We've gone to 50%. We are among the highest debt-ridden states in the country right now. So all these are certainly going to hurt the economy. They are hurting the economy. They are hurting the growth. And therefore, they are making our future generation less prosperous and more poor. The second part is, if the government does its job well, build infrastructure, encourage investment, have a balance between short-term welfare measures and long-term growth-oriented measures, and promote economic growth and incomes, then government does not create wealth. It's you and I that create wealth. The young people of India with ideas, with investment, risk-taking capacity, with a passion for a better future, they create wealth. So you must allow them to create wealth. You must create an atmosphere encouraging for new investment, new ideas, new enterprises. You must not think of industry or enterprise as a sin. You must not fleece money from them and harass them. You must not subject them to gundagiri. You must give them a very hospitable environment where they come freely. Otherwise, if they don't invest, there's no growth. You go back to the cave age. And other states, the other countries in the world, they encourage that investment. And they lay the red carpet for all the investors. They get the benefit of investment and growth. An investor does not have to beg you. He has many options. Therefore, if both these things happen, and then the government does its job well, better infrastructure, and a rule of law, a framework of rule of law, development of small towns, then genuine educational outcomes, not merely expenditure, but are the children learning? Are their minds becoming more productive? And quality health care. If the government does its job well, then the society will take care. Andhra Pradesh is full of wonderful people across the spectrum, every caste, every segment, every sub-region. People are enterprising. They want to work hard, they want to build better lives. The government's duty is to encourage that independence, that innovation, that investment and risk-taking, not discourage it.
Yes, sir. And connecting to your answer, sir, currently the government is stating very proudly that they are spending around 80 to 90,000 on one student who is studying in a government school, along with providing them facilities like, even advanced technological facilities like a tablet, and then free food and hostel facilities along with uniforms and all that. But the knowledge of the students, it suggests otherwise. So where do you think the gap area is, and how do we address that?
Expenditure is real. It's like saying, let's say a child has a serious problem, let's say appendicitis or some other problem. You went to the doctor, a surgeon. So he has all the fantastic equipment, a wonderful theatre, and he operates on the patient. He says, operation success. You look at the patient is dead. So what is all this operation theatre, the surgeon, all these arrangements for? To save the patient, to restore the health. If the patient anyway is dead, what is the point of all this? What is the purpose of education? To make sure that every single child, irrespective of the circumstances of birth, irrespective of the accident of the womb, irrespective of the caste or village or urban, parents educated or not educated, poor or rich, every child has enormous potential. God gave every child a potential, an opportunity. The purpose of education is to bring out that potential, to give the skills, to make the child think and be a productive member of society, to be able to innovate, to enhance the productivity and therefore earning capacity. Any government that measures education in terms of money spent, in fact any program, any government that measures its ability in terms of money spent is not a very wise government. A wise government and a wise family, a wise company looks at how much money have I spent, how much benefit has come to me from that money. If I spend the money, I don't get the benefit, what's the point? What am I doing? At the end of the day, it's the benefit. If a patient is taken to an operation table, has the patient survived? Has the patient been restored to health? That is the yardstick, not how big the operation table is, not how bright the lights are, not how much salary I am paying to the surgeon, no. At the end of it all, has the patient survived? Has the health been restored? Similarly, has the child's mind flourished? Is the child now more capable than the parents to enhance incomes, got the skills and confidence and ability, or has the child not got it? All the evidence in Andhra Pradesh and in the country, to be fair, it's not Andhra Pradesh alone. It will be wrong to say only Andhra Pradesh has the problem. The whole country has the problem. Andhra Pradesh too has the problem. The truth is, most of the children, 80% of the children, I am saying it with deep pain. I went to a village school. I went to a Panchayat Samiti primary school, Telugu medium in a village. I went to Jaya Prakash high school, Telugu medium in a village. And in my generation, thanks to good leadership, thanks to the whole society getting involved, we got excellent education. Excellent education. That is the hallmark of the education system, the outcome. If 80% of the children have no future, their potential is not fulfilled, and their growth is stunted because their education is simply not there, they can't earn a better income or better lives, they depend forever on government doles, then that's a failure. It's not a success. It's a disaster.
Absolutely. Sir, in one of your interviews, you have mentioned that Amaravati should be developed as a greenfield city and 100 other small towns should be developed so that they become self-sufficient. So this is a very interesting concept, sir. Can you please elaborate on that?
Vinila, in this day and age, if you want to get global investment, global technology, global talent, you require global infrastructure. You don't have to go far. Look at Hyderabad city. We call it all Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation. But the reality is, which is the part of the Hyderabad city that has become a global magnet for growth and investment? The MCH area, which was the core area of the city, nobody cares. Some of us may live here. But the moment you talk of investment, productivity, job creation and growth, you're talking about a greenfield city. We call it Hyderabad. But it was not Hyderabad as we knew in yesteryears. Because there was a lot of land available, luckily, all around Hyderabad city, and because a few wise steps were taken to encourage investment, it started in 1995. Actually, I was the first one to take land from the government without even a formal order. I took over land. I allocated the land to software entrepreneurs. I removed Reliance, which was not really, which had an MOU, but it was not really developing the high-tech city. Then I invited L&T, and later the governments took over with tremendous gusto. Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, for instance, with enormous enthusiasm, he really built it up. And his successor governments, Dr. Rajashekhar Reddy, or his successor Congress governments, or the TRS governments, BRS governments, whatever be the political differences, they did a remarkable job. And now Hyderabad is on the global map. And in India, it's now roughly on par with a little less than Bangalore. In infrastructure, we are better than Bangalore. And we have now forged ahead of Chennai. It should be pride for us. So the greenfield city is critical for growth in the new economy. Otherwise, global talent, global investment will not come without global infrastructure. And you cannot improve an existing town or a village or a city. You have to build it afresh where land is available. Luckily, in case of Amaravati, government acted very wisely in encouraging people to pool the land instead of forcibly acquiring land. What happens in forcible acquisition of land? You are taking away an appreciating asset by force from the farmers. They get a pittance today as a compensation. Land value goes up 100 times tomorrow. And the farmers who lost the land get nothing. And if some farmer in the neighborhood who did not lose land is there, he is lucky, he becomes a multimillionaire. Actually, it causes heartburn. So the people who lose land must get the benefit of the future. Land pooling gives that opportunity whenever urbanization is taking place. Very wisely, government adopted that model. So you have a wonderful hinterland, a mighty river nearby, very entrepreneurial population locally, risk-taking capacity, and farmers who voluntarily pool their land in the hope that they'll get the benefit of growth and appreciating value. You have all conditions right. Therefore, doing it well, once you do your part as government, then 10, 20, 50 times investment comes from private sector. How much money is government spending in Hyderabad or in high-tech city? We spent X amount, but we are getting 100x amount investment and 10x amount as revenues now. That is what true growth means. Therefore, greenfield city, it must be developed quickly. It's a very sad thing that a priceless opportunity was squandered like Tughlaq. Government is a continuity. You take a decision in a government and I immediately come and stop it. I take a decision, somebody else will stop it. What is this, tamasha? We all remember Tughlaq for good things, for his stupidity, for his fickleness, for saying one day capital is here, next day capital is here. So Tughlaq for 500 years, 600 years is now a known name. Now almost 650, 700 years. Not for the right reasons. So this behavior is like Tughlaq. But if that is all the growth, if only Hyderabad grows, if only Chennai grows, if only Bangalore grows, what about the rest of the people in the state? If every poor person with low level of skills has to come to a big city, it will be a disaster. Big cities certainly are needed if you are a professor, if you are producing a show, if you are a film director, because you can't have in all small places these opportunities. There is a cluster effect, what economists call cluster effect. But there are many other occupations that don't require a big city. If I am a carpenter, why do I require a big city? Wherever there are people, I must be able to practice my trade. If I am a construction worker, why do I only require a big city? If I am a hairstylist, why should you, wherever people are there, they require hairstyles. So there are hundreds of occupations which are required for people wherever they exist. You don't require the cluster effect. Now, what is happening? Because we are not allowing the economy to grow beyond the big cities, the poorest people with low level of skills, no support system, they are forced to migrate to distant cities. You come from rural Telangana, or north coastal Andhra, Rayalaseema, interior areas, you are forced to go to Hyderabad or someplace. Now, two things happen when people with low level skills are forced to migrate to distant big cities. One, your income is very insufficient for you in a big city. After all, India does not have very high wage structure yet. A carpenter or somebody else, say in the United States, may charge maybe $300 or $500 a day. In India, if you charge 40,000 rupees per day, it will become ridiculous. Nobody will hire you. So you got only this much income. With that income, to live in a big city is impossible. They have to live alone. There is no transport. Every day from place of residence to place of work, they have to commute. They don't have a home, most of them. And they are terrified of tomorrow. One day you have no work, suddenly you have no money. You fall sick, suddenly there is a crisis. And you don't have your own family and friends and others to bank on. It's a disaster for the poor. You have seen in the case of COVID what happened. When the lockdown was imposed, when people had to go back to villages, you have seen the amount of pain and anguish that the poor people suffered. Supposing you allow the small towns to grow, government spends some money in infrastructure, town planning, then economy grows locally, small jobs are created. The same 15 or 20,000 rupees income per month in a small town is actually comfortable income. In a big city, there's nothing. And if there's a problem, you have your own near and dear ones, whom you know. There's a social support system. So unless they both grow simultaneously, small towns and the cluster effect big cities, economy, the growth benefits will only go to a small section. That will be a disaster for the country in the long term. So you require both. You require a greenfield city, Amaravati. You require probably 100 or 150 small towns consciously built by building infrastructure and by proper town planning. Rest of it, private sector will come up with investment, housing, other infrastructure, etc., etc.
Absolutely, sir. And coming to this private and public investments, there's a lot of, I don't know what to call it, a foul play or a lot of confusing statements regarding Visakhapatnam Steel Plant's privatization. So at some point, I think you have mentioned that, as long as the work is going on and the welfare of the people is going on optimally, that public-private issue doesn't matter. So,
public and private is a great myth. What is public? Public means it has gone from my tax money. The poorest Indians paid from their hard-earned taxes, and that money you invested in a public company. Now, is the money unlimited? No. Where has the money gone from? It has gone from my education, from my health care, from my rule of law, courts and police and justice system, from my infrastructure, roads and electricity and water supply and sewerage and stormwater drainage. So we impoverished the whole society. We failed to do what we ought to do. There is no escape. See, if the government does not provide the things I mentioned, there is nobody else to provide. If the government does not build roads, who will build roads? If the government does not create a court system and like a police system which is honest and competent and fair, who else will do that? Gundas will do that. So there is no recourse. These are things only government can do. What are governments doing in the past 70 years? They ignored what they should be doing, for which there is no other recourse available. We depend only on government. Nobody else is interested in building a road. With our collective money, it's a collective entity called government that has to build the road to fulfill our collective needs. Market will not work there. Instead of doing what you ought to be doing, they started entering areas where other people will do a better job. There are 100 people who can make steel. There are 100 people who can make cloth. We had government cloth companies. We had government paper mills. We had government soap factories. We had government bread company. There is a modern bread company, government company. You require government to make bread. There are a million people who know how to make bread. We decide which one we like best. We see the price, we see the quality, we buy. It's not the government's job. So wherever there can be competition, wherever people can do better than others, government should not intervene. Government should focus on what it should be doing, which no other people can do. And if the government doesn't do its job, we're all in a crisis. It is in that backdrop we must look at public sector and private sector. Every public sector company over time has declined and became a burden on the people. Air India, for years and decades, many of our people argued, we need a national carrier. It's a matter of pride. 8,000 crore rupees lost every year. To have a national carrier? What do I need in an airplane? I need a plane that I can trust. I need a plane that will run on time. I need a plane that will give me comfort and reach me to the destination without accidents at as low a price as possible. Now, if Vistara can do it, Tata Airlines can do it, Indigo can do it. Indigo is now the biggest domestic airliner. If Indigo can do it, if some other company can do it, why should government do it? And what has the government done? 8,000 crores loss per year. Who has met that money? Air India Chief Executive, Prime Minister, MPs, your money and my money. Our tax money has gone there. Similarly, steel plants, similarly other things. Even if they appear to be running well at a point of time, over time the decline is inevitable. HMT watch is a great example. For a large part of my life, I only wore HMT watches because, despite all this, there is this old-fashioned notion. Apnai company and all that. But HMT company closed down because they could not produce and sell. Now there are many companies that produce and sell. So why should government make watches? Why should government make clothes? How silly it is. So government must do its job well. Then the market, all of us, what is market? What is private sector? All of us. The people who invest, who risk, who have ideas, who take a challenge. That is market. Market is not, somehow, many people pretend as if market is an enemy. Government is the solution. No, government is the problem. Government is the problem. It is market that gave us all telephones, not government. As long as government controlled it, we had no telephones. When the telephone came, it wouldn't work. When it worked, the prices. One phone call in those days, 3-minute phone call used to cost minimum 3 rupees. 3 rupees then is equal to some 100 rupees now. A trunk call used to cost multiples. An immediate call, instant call, lightning call used to cost 8 times that. Today, at a fraction of that price, anywhere in the world you can make a call. Who is making it? Government? No. Then? Government is inefficient in all this. In some areas, there is no choice except to go to government because otherwise it will become Gunda Raj. National defense, roads, electricity grid, we pay for electricity. But at least the basic structure has to be with the governments. Water supply, transport, sewerage. Transport again, private sector can come in. But government has to do its job. Quality education, quality health care, rule of law. So these are things only government can do. Others cannot do. Let the government do its job well. People will do their job.
Absolutely, sir. It makes sense now. And post-separation, Andhra has seen a lot of changes in terms of maybe developments or in terms of, lagging behind the other states or whatsoever, either it be positive or negative. So, both in phase 1 and phase 2, there were many changes that people didn't anticipate. So, how do you think the phase 3 is going to look like?
It depends on the future government's good sense. If they have fiscal discipline, if they use government money wisely and prudently and safely, and if they invest money in infrastructure, and if they encourage private investment and make people partners, not enemies, then despite all the problems we face, there will be growth and there will be a better future. In addition to that, the government must do its job very well, and the government must make sure that other steps are taken to see that the fruits of growth go to ordinary people across the board. Quality education, quality health care, but most of all small towns and decentralized development model and decentralization of power, and at least minimal elements of rule of law in the country. My hope and my expectation is the future government in Andhra Pradesh will focus on the things that matter for economic growth, social stability and fiscal prudence. Once they do that, while we have some serious challenges now, we can overcome them, because in a growing economy, when we're growing at 6-7% across the country, and if you show the signals that you're actually pro-growth, then Andhra Pradesh also will grow very fast, maybe 7-8% or even more, 9-10% potential exists. Then the economic challenges we're facing now, they will come to a more balanced position, because as the pie increases, the cake size increases, the income increases, the burden of expenditure, its share comes down. And you get into a virtuous cycle. Right now we are in a vicious cycle. You spend more to remain where you are. Tomorrow, once you start becoming a little more careful with public money, use it wisely, you become a virtuous cycle, because you save more in order to invest more. That is the virtuous cycle in which Orissa is now. Orissa is saving annually 26,000 crores. And Orissa is a poorer state than Andhra Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh, one of the poorest states of India, 74,000 crores annually they are saving. And they are investing that money and then borrowing and investing. Therefore, they got into a virtuous cycle. So, from this vicious cycle, we must go into a virtuous cycle.
This statement is like really amazing, from a vicious to virtuous cycle. So sir, thanks a lot for your profound insights. So we are really honored to have you with us today. Thank you a lot, sir.